My name is Brady Bigley. Joining me on the podcast this morning from he's a Crawford County Victims Advocate. It's Jim Scott. Good morning, Jim.
Yeah, good morning, Randy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. It's we like to get you in here every once in a while because there's always something that you deal with that it's very important to talk about.
Oh, sure, yeah. And today I thought maybe we could talk about the crime victim compensation program that the Attorney General's office runs.
Okay.
And they've made some changes recently. And it's a program a lot of people don't know about, and sometimes that's good, that they haven't been victimized or had a lot of medical bills and things. So I thought maybe we could just talk about that today.
Yeah, because I don't think people realize the bills that can pile up when you are a victim or a victim's family, right?
Right, yeah. And some family members can be compensated for things like counseling or things like that. And we'll get into some definitions today.
Okay.
Things that the Attorney General's office had to change. But yes, it's something that I try to work closely with victims if they have out-of-pocket expenses that we can help get covered.
Okay, what are some things that can be covered?
Medical expenses. So if somebody is a victim of some type of an assault, sexual assault, of course.
Yeah.
So any of their medical bills, we can help get paid. And what the Attorney General's office does, they'll work with the hospitals and the care providers to try to get as much of the cost written off as they can. So then we send in an application to the Attorney General's office, and then what they'll do is pay the provider directly.
Okay.
So that way people don't have to choose between putting gas in the car and paying their medical bills.
Right.
Their medical bills are paid; they don't get sent to collections or things like that. Now sometimes I've helped people who didn't know about the program. Their bills were sent to collections, so we work with a collection agency, and to get their name off off the collection list, and then the Attorney General's office will pay them directly from their fund.
Okay, wow. Has this been around for a while? This whole program?
It's been around many years, but in some people that have medical bills, maybe if they have a medical card or some kind of coverage like that, so they'll have those bills paid automatically. So we try to get maybe insurance deductibles paid or any out-of-pocket expense. It won't cover pain and suffering or anything like that or property crimes. So for instance, if there's an assault case, they'll pay the medical bills. A lot of times what we find with sexual assault cases is counseling fees that we can get paid. So, and it can be an ongoing process, obviously. And so, but we get people set up and get the bills paid. That way they don't have to worry, about, like I said, they're going to put food on the table, gas in the car, or things like that.
What about lost wages? What if you lost time at work? Because that probably happens quite a bit.
Oh, sure, that happens frequently. Yeah, so all we have to do is get the employer to send whatever the wage amount is down to the Attorney General's office, and then they'll pay the person directly for their lost wages.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And then things like a murder case, they'll help pay for funeral expenses, and then one of the new features of the program is they'll help immediate family members pay for counseling. Like say you have a loved one that was murdered and you happen to find them, they can help pay for your counseling for those kinds of trauma.
What happens if you have they're killed in your house, whatever, there's a mess there, can they help with cleanup too?
Oh sure, yeah, they can help with crime scene cleanup. They can help with evidence restorations. For instance, we've had cases where maybe someone's clothes are ruined, or a child that's been abused. We can help get things paid for, like a favorite blanket or a stuffed animal, things like that if they've had to send it in maybe to BCI for a DNA test or something like that.
Right.
We can help get those things covered.
So I mean, things that people don't think about. I see on you have a list here of everything, and it's just so much. Like I said, mileage and all that too for travel expenses if you have to stay somewhere or something, right?
Sure, yeah. And especially if you're out of state and your loved one was murdered here, expenses for that. Or if it's local, like you said, people have to take off work, then they have to travel, so we get that mileage reimbursed also. Or other medical, eyeglasses, dentures, hearing aids, things like that we can help get paid. I had one case I remember years ago where it was a domestic violence situation, and part of the control the guy broke the woman's dentures so that she wouldn't
Yeah.
leave the house.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and because he
Yeah.
wanted to keep her,
Yeah.
home all the time. He didn't
Right.
want her out in public.
Wow.
And so we finally got that settled, and we were able to get her new dentures and glasses. So
Wow.
it's things that people won't think about, and it's an easy application. It looks intimidating, but it's really pretty easy. So, and then in situations where we have a dependent that might be the victim, a child, like we're speaking of, so their parents, can file, even though they're not the direct victim. But since they're paying the bills, we can file for them as a claimant. Since they're paying everything, so we get them reimbursed for the child's expenses.
Wow, okay. Lots of benefits here, and yeah, like I said, I don't think people know a lot about this. I've never heard of this before, actually.
Sure. Yeah, and it's not too advertised, but I like to tell people the things that we can do. I mean, there are some limits. I don't think I've ever seen a case where we reached a limit. $50,000 per claim is the limit, and then they have subcategories with limits. Counseling is one thing where I think it was like a $2,000 limit. We're trying to get that increased.
Yeah.
Because that's what, 20 sessions.
Yeah, that's not much at all.
About $100.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so we're trying to get different things changed as far as that goes.
Yeah, counseling's a major part of this. I think we're figuring out more and more that the mental part of it is very important, as in the money compensation, probably.
Sure. Yeah, and it's there's no taxpayer money involved in this program, which makes it nice. The program got a start with grant money, and the grant money came from criminal fines and things like that. A lot of times people think of the old Enron case or the Martha Stewart, Volkswagen, those kinds of things. But then in Ohio, what the Attorney General's office does, they'll get the compensation back from the defendant. So after the defendant's out of prison, then they'll make them pay that money back.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it supplements the fund, and it's a recurring fund.
Sure. Is there anything that might disqualify you from this?
Well, very little anymore. Things that used to disqualify people were, different felonies or things like that. So obviously, if you're, in a mutual fight or something, then you won't be able to get compensation. But other things, if the person's had a domestic violence conviction or a child abuse conviction within 10 years, they look at that. It's not an automatic disqualifier, but it can be a disqualifier.
It can be, okay.
So yeah, or anything that, like I said, would be something where the victim should have known better. For instance, a DUI crash, and the victim's out drinking with somebody, and they get in the car and knew. We still try to get that covered because, let's face it, maybe they didn't know the driver was drunk at the time or something like that.
And if you're an accomplice in a crime, you're not going to get covered.
Well, obviously, right? Yeah,
Right,
yeah. So if you go rob the bank and something happens, that's you're the driver or whatever. Yeah.
I laugh but there's probably somebody's probably tried to get money for like it.
Well, they've had to do it or wouldn't be on the list, right?
Exactly.
Somebody tried it before.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Jim, if somebody, if they're a victim or a family member or whatever, how can they get your services? Is it they just go to? How do they get their services with you?
Yeah, sure. So I work out of the county prosecutor's office, Matt Craw's office, and I'll leave my number now and then at the end of the show. Also, it's 419-562-9782. And many times when I get the report from the police agency, I'll reach out and offer the service. So, but yeah, if there's somebody out there, maybe it's been a couple years since something happened and everything, and I didn't realize it, but if I can recover all those medical bills, so please, anyone can call me and we'll try it. And then there's also part of the program is if the claimant is denied, we can appeal the decision. If there's exigent circumstances or things, we can appeal. Obviously, if somebody doesn't know about the program,
right.
How are they going to apply? So even if it's been a couple years, we can still help people apply and hopefully get the reimbursement for them.
And if they want to apply, just get a hold of you, correct?
Just call me. Or there a lot of people nowadays are computer whizzes or whatever. They can fill out the application, on their computer or their phone, and I can give them that information when they call.
All right. Well, Jim, thank you for bringing this this program to light, because I don't think a lot of people know about this.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and again, anybody can call me. It's 419-562-9782. That rings into the county prosecutor's office, and then you'll be patched through to me.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim.
Sure.